My name is John Tarantino, and I am going to be introducing to you the vision layer um, and how it's applied to um, a mobile mechanic business that I'm currently in the process of purchasing. So it's a practical application of the vision layer, and hopefully it'll be useful to you guys. Hi, so I just wanted to introduce the exercise with a couple quotes from the book that really spoke to me. One from the insight layer, and then a segue to the vision layer. From the insight layer, the heart of a great customer experience is that it feels human and reminds us that there are still other humans on the other side of our transactions. And that kind of leads to the vision layer, which is perfectly described by building a strong social business strategy is the art of applying insights to specific touch points in the customer journey, guided by business goals and calibrated by scope to available resources. And I think you'll see as we go through this kind of that those really ring true. So, just another quick intro into how the rest of the presentation will go. I'll be focusing on the mobile mechanic business, of course, and mostly on the goals exercise, but I'll also touch on touch points. And as you can see from the diagram, there are three parts to the vision layer. But again, I'll be focusing mostly on goals and the touch points as it relates to the mobile mechanic business. So the first part of the goals exercise is to identify the top three business goals, and for me, even though I wasn't even though I'm not the current owner of this business, I was able to identify what I thought were three important top three business goals, which I derived from reading the all the reviews that were available publicly on, online, be it from Google reviews, Facebook reviews, Yelp reviews. Um, I read all the good and all the bad, and focused in on the bad, and came up with these three um, business goals to focus on. And yeah, this seems pretty straightforward. So for me, it was to improve the customer satisfaction, improve scheduling availability to support demand, but also to expand service area. And number three, improve the customer user experience. And by that, I mean through online touchpoints, a website, the brand, and the marketing. So, to get into the steps, as you may have read from chapter 6 in Digital Sense, there are 6 steps. And the first one um, was to identify 3 to 5 department level goals from each team member for the coming year. And so this definitely seems like it's geared for larger organizations or businesses. But for smaller organizations, it's definitely adaptable. And for me, in my case, yeah, I just did my best to come up with some goals that I could use for the mobile mechanic business. So for step two, this is kind of the meat of the whole exercise. I feel like so from step one, where you've written down your department level goals, um, then you're supposed to post them on a whiteboard or whatever medium you're using into the three different sections divided by your top three business goals that we started off with before step one. And for me, that's customer satisfaction, improved scheduling, and user experience. So yeah, so just to go through a couple examples from each section. Yeah, so for improving customer satisfaction, I put define a purpose statement. And from the reading, it definitely seemed like that was something that was really important to have. And I'm not quite sure that that's something that exists currently for this particular mobile mechanic business. And that it definitely seems like it would contribute to customer satisfaction. So I threw that in there. And I put hire more mechanics under improved scheduling. I'll talk more about why I did this later on in another slide. Um, I'll expand on that later. And in the user experience, a couple things I put redesign the website, and the reason why I put that is currently the website is pretty amateur and definitely not mobile friendly or anything like that. So it seems like a pretty basic goal to have to improve the user experience. And then there's some, basic other things: SEO, search engine friendly, domain name. The current domain name is definitely not search engine friendly. There's no keywords in there that are useful um, to help boost web traffic. So definitely some easy, basic things to change there. Yeah, and then we'll get into um, more of this later on in another slide. So step three, yeah. So for each of the goals on the sticky notes that you put on your medium of choice, so in my case, this PowerPoint slide, each one is supposed to have a KPI, a key performance indicator, attached to it in order to be able to measure easily the success over time for attaining that goal. So I definitely don't have a KPI here for every one of those goals. So I just kind of wrote down a couple examples here. And also, I also kind of just made these up because uh, I don't really, yeah, for in my case, it's a business I'm trying to buy and I don't really know the details of it currently. But so, yeah, I put specific numbers in here just to be concrete about the goal, to be specific about it. And I think that's the key point of this. Of this step, just to be specific, detailed, and if it doesn't have a KPI, to think about how you could get one. One criticism of this is that in some cases it's difficult to come up with a KPI, I think, but it still might be a goal worth having on the board. So that's just something to keep in mind. For me, just 10% improvement in customer ratings. Um, so customer ratings is something that I'm definitely trying to improve. So if you have better customer ratings, you should have um, more customers when they're deciding and comparing who to go with. Um, 15% increase in lead conversion. So and an example I'll show you later on. There's some customers that have basically been ignored when reaching out, probably because they were too busy or they just got missed from, yeah, maybe they just fell through the cracks. So uh, definitely improving lead conversion can definitely help the bottom line. And a 6% increase in repeat business in 12 months. Um, yeah, so if you have happy customers, you'll have more repeat business. So that's definitely a good thing. So step 4, this one was the part where it talked about discussing with your team the various points of view from the customer's perspective, survey feedback, voice of the customer, things like that. Um, for my case, for this mobile mechanic business, I feel like the without with the currently with the absence of any data, the data I do have available is the available public reviews. So again, here I'm focusing on the reviews available online um, from Facebook, Google, and Yelp. Um, and this is a good way to just get a sense of the happy customers and the lost customers. And I snapshotted a review. This is a real review from somebody on Google where they were unhappy, 1 star from a year ago. Um, it says, no response whatsoever. Go somewhere else if you want good service. Don't do this guy. Now, this person is probably never going to use that service again, which is unfortunate. And it says that it was posted a year ago, and it does show a response from the customer. It looks like a month later, where he apologizes for not being able to get back to him in a timely manner. Now, this kind of thing is kind of like your worst nightmare as a business owner, I would imagine. Um, yeah, just having somebody slip through the cracks, whether it was because they were administratively lost because of lack of a system, a lack of a CRM, or maybe they called and left a voicemail and they um, never got back to them, or maybe they were too busy. Maybe they just were slammed that month and just couldn't get back to them. Either way, there's solutions for either problem, and I feel like that's the point of this step, is to take a look at all the pain points that customers have expressed and figure out systems and ways to improve that for the future, so that you don't have more people who will never come back to your business ever again. And maybe this could have been a happy customer, and maybe that guy could have been repeat business, and maybe that guy could have offered referrals to his friends and family, but that's a whole chain reaction that'll never happen, most likely. And so the more you can improve things from the customer point of view, um, the better outcomes you'll have for your business, and the more business you should be able to get in the future. And I think that's the goal from this step. Okay, step 5. It's pretty simple. Basically, we are supposed to revisit our step 2, where we put all the sticky notes in the sections of your business top 3 business goals. And so I'll just kind of go over a couple of them that I revisited. I think I reworded almost all of them, not every one, but just an example, I reworded under customer satisfaction. I had follow up with customers for reviews, and I reworded it to say design and implement automated follow up process with customers to encourage reviews. So a little bit more specific. And another example that I revisited is under the improve scheduling section. Now, I had hire more mechanics before, and I reworded it. Maybe it's nuanced, but I put increase hiring to alleviate backlog of calls. And I guess maybe it's a little better because I added a Y in there. So yeah, the point of this exercise is just to go through all those sticky notes and make them a little bit better and more concrete. Another good one in there I think I added was modernize website design, improve customer messaging, and display social media channels and activity. I think that's a lot better than just make a better website. So that's another good example. So step 6, the final step. In this step, we are supposed to publish it everywhere that is appropriate. Share with your organization, share with your team, share with your small business, share with your employees, your contractors if you have them. The point is, once everybody is aware of uh, all the pain points, all the policies, all the improvement ideas, that kind of helps establish a trust. It helps establish buy-in, and in general, I feel like it's just good practice to share with your whole team, your organization, or your business. Just being open about what your plans are for the coming year. And I threw in this quote that I feel like kind of nicely wraps up the exercise. A purpose-focused social business strategy must have a strong why, a clear what, and a manageable how. And I feel like going through that whole process that we just went through, you can kind of see how important it is to be aware of that and how those kind of come to light as you go through it. So now that we wrapped up with the goals exercise, I'm going to touch a little bit on the Touchpoint exercise, which is pretty detailed. We did go through this exercise last week in the activities, so this should be familiar to everybody. For me and my mobile mechanic business, I kind of separated them into 5 different stages: search, schedule, pre-repair, repair, post-repair. And yeah, just some basic touch points in here, from the website, the social media page, and phone or text or web chat. You'll kind of see these again in the next slide where I have the journey map. So you'll see that here in the next slide. So for the journey map, yeah, we all kind of did a version of this as well in one of the activities last week. So I made this slide. It's quite a bit simpler than the exercise outlines in the chapter 6 in digital sense. But in a way, I kind of like it better because it's a bit more simpler, but it still conveys a few of the key points. So yeah, so then here we have the stages from the Touchpoint map on the top: online search, scheduling, pre-repair, repair, and post-repair. And We have the touch points, so the website, phone, Facebook page, phone, emails, in-person mechanic, payment processing, and thinking and feelings. I try to include for each one of the stages, just a general feeling. For example, in the online search, how does a mobile mechanic experience work? That seems like something someone would ask themselves. Um, and an improvement for that, pretty simple, like a clear process explained on the website. And again, remember, the website was pretty bad. So this seems like a pretty easy idea for an improvement for a question somebody might have. Um, and just to give another quick example for the post repair section, where can I go to leave a review? So that might be something somebody would ask at the end of a service action like this. And an idea for an improvement would be, to send an email or a text to each customer after their appointments, asking for a review. Seems like a pretty simple thing to do. Ideally, this would be an automated process. But yeah, so I think you get the general idea of this journey map. Um, um, Try to identify some pain points through the different stages that a customer might experience, and try to come up with an idea to mitigate those pain points in the future. So a pretty good exercise to do, and something you guys are familiar with now, I think. Okay, and in conclusion, some of the exercise takeaways that I wanted to point out were that it's really good exercise for organizing your thoughts for your organization, team, or small business. For me, it was very practical. So this is very useful for me personally as I'm going through this. It kind of helps me identify some of the plans that I want to implement it right away, that I would like to implement right away. Um, One small criticism is, and I think I might have mentioned this before, I can't remember, but it definitely feels like the exercise is kind of intended for larger organizations, but it definitely is adaptable for smaller organizations or even solopreneurs. Um, and something else that stuck with me, step 4, voice of the customer. Um, just understanding the point of view of the customer um, is definitely extremely helpful for marketers um, to strategize things that they can do to help lead to a positive feedback loop. We all know that a better customer experience equals more business. Um, and I think it was extremely useful for me to look at those negative reviews and use them as a tool to map out a plan to help prevent that from those negative reviews from happening in the future. And and that's just a positive feedback loop for the business. And the more you can do that, the better the business will be. And this is something that everybody can do for any business. Well, any service-based business online, anyways. But the idea is there, and the idea is a useful one for most people. I think so. Yeah, those are the things that I took away from the exercise and this vision layer. And I hope this was a good thing to go through with you guys. And thanks for listening.